Hey everyone, so the Lego Batman movie is a spin-off of the original Lego movie that came out a couple of years ago, and it is directed by Chris McKay. Now, he's not really done anything of note so far, but he is backed up by a big pool of big name stars, including Will Arnett back as Batman, Rosario Dawson, Zach Galifianakis, Ralph Fiennes and Channing Tatum. And basically the story follows Batman as he deals with crime by night and then as a lonesome bachelor by day. And this is where the kind of subplot unfolds alongside him trying to battle the Joker and bring him to justice. The subplot is basically that Batman lives alone, he works alone, which he reminds us a lot during the film, and he has trouble letting anyone in, and he has to overcome this in the film to kind of become the man he wants to be. And what ensues is him kind of pushing everyone away as much as he can until we get to the final act where he kind of has a realization, and that's where his relationships start to develop with different characters within the film, including the Joker. So let's talk about some good and bad points about the film, and then I'll give you my overall score at the end of this review. So let's get into it. So the first thing about this film I noticed right from kind of the first 5 minutes is it looks great. It is visually stunning. You know, they've taken all the parts from the original Lego movie, the way the kind of Lego is portrayed on screen, and just developed it into this Lego Batman film. And also the colours are really vibrant. Although quite a lot of it takes place at night within that world, it still keeps the colour vibrance. There's a lot of kind of oranges and purples and whatnot, and it works really well. And then obviously with kind of the characters in it, like the Joker with his green hair, and Superman's in it, and all the different characters, it just all blends really well and gives across a really good vibrant look. So I'll definitely give that a good. Next up, what I did like about this film was how they integrated this Lego movie into the DC comic book universe, and it kind of sprawled the universe and had lots of references to comic books that have come before it, and also the films and the Batman TV show that's come before it as well. We went back as far as like the 1940s when they talked about Batman back then. And I liked the way it kind of delved into different areas of the comic book universe. So we went to the Fortress of Solitude for where Superman lives, and he was having a Justice League party and Batman wasn't invited, and that kind of led to an awkward exchange between the two, and I quite liked that. And then we obviously, as Metropolis, we heard about a bit. We went again to the Phantom Zone, which is again in Superman, so it's a nice little crossover between the two, and I think that worked really well. It built up kind of a great landscape for the Lego film, which could lead in turn to other spin-offs. I presume they're trying to build a franchise about this, because obviously it's a lot of money through the films and the toys. So I thought that was really well done, so I'm going to give that another good point. Now, back in the original Lego movie, everyone loved the cameo parts of Batman, and they were the funny bits that got the audience kind of laughing. Now we've gone to a Batman film. Ironically, it's another character that got the most laughs out of me within the film, and that was Bane. They done his voice really well. It was very reminiscent of The Dark Knight Rises, and the way he looked was also reminiscent of Batman and Robin, I guess. But he just has a few little one-liners and a few little cameos in the film that kind of just crop up when you need it, and made me laugh quite a lot. So I'm definitely giving that a good point. Let's have a Bane spin-off. That would be amazing. One part of the film that they played really well as well, and I was quite surprised about this, was the isolation of Batman as a character and as a superhero, essentially. His whole mantra is that he works alone, and no one else is allowed in. I mean, obviously he has Alfred, but no one else has kind of infiltrated his life, essentially. And that is played out really well. We get some nice sequences where we see how lonely it can be being a superhero, and how lonely Batman is within his Batcave and Wayne Manor. Some of the films he watches kind of delve into his character, about what he's looking for in life. And it was played out really well, to the point that I was actually sat there in the film thinking, this would be an amazing plot point within a proper Batman film, and really ramp up kind of how isolated he is as a superhero. You know, he gets the adulation when he fights crime and that, but when you strip all that back behind it, the kind of person he is, and how that plays out. And I think that would be a great kind of plot point within a Batman film. So I'd definitely give that kind of story arc a good. So we need to talk about a few bad points in the film, and what I previously said about how in the first Lego movie, when Batman came into scenes, he was quite fresh and exciting and he was funny and everyone enjoyed that. Now they've developed it into a whole film, I have to say it becomes tiresome. The dialogue, a lot of it feels forced, and the humour definitely feels forced. Like, it literally feels that every line that Batman delivers is trying to be funny and trying to get a laugh out of the audience. And I'll be quite honest, I sat in the cinema and no one laughed pretty much during the whole film, which is worrying. And it just felt overdone, and it got really tiresome by about halfway through the film. There was no kind of development of it or kind of surprise factor. It was just kind of line after line, attempted joke after attempted joke, and it just didn't work for me. I didn't really find myself kind of laughing throughout the whole film. Obviously there's a couple of bits with Bane, but overall it just didn't hit the spot as a humour sense. And I think that is a worrying sign, because Batman was so funny in the original Lego movie and they've tried to translate it into a grander scale and it's just not worked. So I'm going to have to give that a bad point. Also, I kind of hate to compare it to the original Lego movie, but it is essentially a spin-off, so I'm going to in some senses. And with the Batman movie, it got a bit boring in parts. I was a bit bored. It just didn't develop quick enough for me. What I liked about the original Lego movie is there was an interesting character that we were kind of rooting for, and then we had all these different like compartments of the Lego world. So we went to, you know, the western land, and then we had the pirates and the sea and whatnot, and that worked really well in the first film, and it kept things fresh and moving forward. Whereas in this film, it just feels it's plodding along a bit. I know I say that about kind of a few plot lines, but it really felt like this. It's an hour and 42 minutes, and that's quite a long. I've got a 4-year-old, and that's quite a long time for them to sit down and be completely engaged in it anyway, in any film. But this, there was definitely points that they could have stripped down even more, just to progress the story a bit more. And yeah, as I say, I felt a bit bored during a few parts, so I'm going to have to give that a bad as well. And finally, following on from that, I just don't feel the Batman movie stands up as a standalone film. What works in the original Lego movie, as I say, it was bit parts. I know I keep repeating that, but it's quite prominent in my thoughts about this film. Was it worked within that Lego world because it was kind of cameos and bit parts, but as a whole standalone film for an hour and 42 minutes, I don't feel it worked, and it doesn't stand up to the original movie. It just doesn't have that magic about the original movie. I really enjoyed the first Lego movie. I didn't have that many expectations to it, and it kind of blew me away. I thought it was a brilliant film, and I've watched it many times with my son again. The Batman movie, I can't see myself kind of sitting down and watching again. It felt like I've watched it now I can move on, and that's a shame, because the first movie had like kind of an X factor that worked really well, and it's just missing it in the Batman Lego movie. I don't know what it is. Maybe it was the soundtrack. Obviously that was really good in the first film. Maybe it's the characters. We've seen the Batman in the Lego movie, and then it's brought into this, which is the main focus. But at the same time, in the original Lego movie, we had all the characters surrounding it, like Lord Business and Good Cop, Bad Cop. And I just felt there's no supporting kind of around this. The Joker was pretty good, and I enjoyed Bane, but ultimately it didn't bring it up to a level of the original Lego movie, so that's going to be a bad point as well. Overall, I was slightly disappointed with this film. I think I went into it with big expectations from the original Lego movie. In fact, it was probably one of my most anticipated films of the year. But you can see the major flaws within the film, and as I've said, it just doesn't, what it's taken from the original film and blown it up on a large scale, I just don't feel it works. It's obviously going to draw lots of people in, it's going to make loads of money, there's going to be loads of toys and that's probably what its sole purpose is. But as a continuation of the Lego movie, it disappointed me, and I came out the cinema feeling a bit kind of down about it, essentially. However, with this kind of franchise, they can explore so many different areas, so many different characters, so I don't think it's going to affect the overall kind of arc of the Lego movie. But for me, it was just a bit under par, so I'm going to give it 6.5 out of 10. As always, if you've stuck around this long, I really appreciate it. It does mean a lot to me, and I'd appreciate it too if you could give this video a thumbs up. And also comment below if you've seen the Lego Batman movie and tell me what you thought of it. Do you agree with what I'm saying, or do you disagree? Let's get a discussion going. And finally, if you've liked this video and want to see more from me, best thing you can do is subscribe to my channel, where you'll get notified every time I upload a new video. And I've got lots of reviews coming up this week, so get subscribing, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.